Huge news in the Elon Musk department. He is voting Republican for the first time, saying that he had voted Democrat over and over. And for the first time, he will be voting Republican. I don't think anybody is surprised by this, but this is huge news. And I think it's indicative of the left losing its collective mind and of regular people saying enough. Elon Musk recently said he's not a right winger, that the buyout of Twitter would not be a right-wing buyout. It would be a moderate buyout. And he is correct, because I am also a moderate. The news is actually really interesting, and we've seen the transformation over the past several months with Elon Musk, or I should say years, posting memes and talking about the left going crazy, as well as that one meme he posted where it shows the left going further and further left. He's experiencing what so many of us have experienced, what I've personally experienced, which really does represent why we are where we are. It also represents why it's so important that someone like Elon Musk does complete their purchase of Twitter. Now, initially, I must confess, I had actually put together a segment on Elon Musk suspending his purchase of Twitter because of the bots, with new tweets coming out suggesting there could be more than 50% of accounts on Twitter are bots. I actually think it's possible. I really do. The big news being that Elon Musk has called on the SEC to investigate Twitter's claims that only 5% of its users are bots, or 5% or less. In fact, speaking at a conference via internet, Elon Musk said 95% of people using Twitter. Is that your experience? And everyone busts out laughing. Nobody buys it. Now, they're kind of different stories. And the through line here is just Elon Musk, but there is something that connects both of these stories. The official narrative ain't flying anymore. A room full of people erupting in laughter at the idea that Twitter only has 5% or less bots. You can't just say it anymore. No one believes you. We also had the big expose from Project Veritas, where an engineer said that when they joined Twitter, they became left-wing. Effectively radicalized, and that people there are commie as F. If Elon Musk were to get into Twitter, he could fire all of these people. The generic ballots on the upcoming midterm election show the Republicans are favored to win, and it is going to be an insane blowout. Based on historical trends, and I've long talked about this, Republicans are set to win bigly. A lot can change from now till then. But Elon Musk is not only the wealthiest man in the world, he's also one of the most influential. When he comes out and says this, that he will be voting Republican, you know what that means? How many people want to be like Elon? How many people want to be fat cats, bigwigs, ballers, have the cash, be successful? How many young men are like, I don't know about that political stuff, but I want to be rich and successful and run a big company? How many reach for the stars? A lot, probably. A lot of people are going to see this as an open invitation to be publicly accepted for saying, you agree with Elon. You know, if I'm going to look up to somebody, Elon Musk, you know what? I got no problem voting Republican either. Now, for me, I made that leap in 2020. I said, I supported Democrats in the primary, but Joe Biden was out of his mind. I still support many left policy positions, but the left itself is just bonkers. And I've got the receipts to back it up. Last night, I had a conversation with a progressive podcaster, Matt Binder. Tremendous respect for him coming on the show. He's a good dude. I really disagree with him. And my personal view is that he lacks knowledge necessary to understand how his opinions would affect greater society. That is to say, he didn't understand taxation, inflation, how money is made, fractional reserve banking. He doesn't have to know those things. I'm not disparaging him for not knowing that. I just think that's ultimately where our disagreement lies. But in this conversation, he tells me so many things that I'm just like, if this is the modern left, I'm out. I said, if you would be in favor of abortion at 9 months, elective abortion, then I would rather stand alongside those who would ban it outright. I don't completely agree with that position that it should be banned outright, but I would prefer that over what the left is proposing now. Allow me to show you some of the news stories of just this past week to explain to you why Elon Musk himself would make a transition like this, and why you can now safely say that you too would vote Republican. Before we get started, Head over to timcast.com and become a member to help support our work. As a member, you'll get access to exclusive segments from the Timcast IRL podcast. You'll be supporting our journalists, and we are trying to hire more. There just aren't any. No joke. We want people of good quality and merit, and we're looking to hire more people. With your support, we can do that. You'll also be supporting our infrastructure, and we use Rumble, their cloud services. So we are supporting direct competition with big tech, Silicon Valley, and all that. So don't forget to smash that like button, subscribe to this channel, share the show with your friends. Without further ado, from Newsweek, Elon Musk says he'll vote Republican for the first time in the next election. Tesla and SpaceX CEO, who plans to buy Twitter, said he will now vote Republican, having overwhelmingly voted for Democrats in the past. Musk is a registered independent voter who describes himself as moderate. He made the remarks while speaking via video link at a tech summit in Miami, Florida, hosted by the All In podcast on Monday, reported Insider. The world's richest man, whose $44 billion takeover of Twitter is on hold pending information on spam accounts, described the platform as a very far left bias, before saying he would classify himself as a moderate, and he is neither Republican nor Democrat. I have voted overwhelmingly for Democrats, historically. Like, I'm not sure, I might never have voted for a Republican, just to be clear. Now, this election, I will, Musk added. It was unclear if Musk was talking about voting for a GOP candidate in the midterms or the 2024 election. I'm going to pause you right there, Newsweek. There's no reason to assume he was talking about 2024 when he said this election. This election right now, a few months away, 6 months, less than 6 months, is the midterm, okay? Why would he be talking about something else? Musk also assured people that if he does purchase Twitter, it will not be a right-wing takeover as people on the left fear, and he plans on making it a moderate-wing takeover. Oh, I'll just throw it back to Timcast IRL last night with Matt Binder. You know, we had a conversation on news, and when it came to Elon Musk, the conversation went straight into debate. I said, they have a misgendering policy. The progressives agree that you shouldn't misgender. People on the right, conservatives, don't believe you can misgender, or I should say they have an inverted view. Misgendering to them would be using preferred pronouns. Matt said, if Twitter were to get rid of that policy, it would be biased for the right, which is just not true. If Twitter had a policy that said you cannot use preferred pronouns, that would be biased for the right. If Twitter had a policy that, if Twitter had no policy regardless of either side, and you could or couldn't, whatever, that would be no bias. Currently, Twitter has a bias in favor of the progressive worldview. Matt didn't understand that because he lives in a bubble. When Elon Musk says it's a moderate takeover, moderates like you or I, although I'm sure many of you may be liberal or conservative, we're like, good. No bias at all. Let the conversation happen, I suppose. There have been concerns about that Musk's about to make Twitter a digital town square, where content is not as strictly moderated and all speech encouraged could lead to an increase in hate speech or harassment. I don't care. I literally don't care, because I can walk outside right now and the left, right, up, down, whatever can say whatever they want. Let's keep it that way. I bring you now to this post from this story from the Daily Wire, which reiterates the same story that Elon Musk announces he's switching to vote Republican, but includes some important context. On July 27th, 2020, Elon Musk tweeted, "The left is losing the middle. You are correct, good sir. That was the year I voted for a Republican president and down ballot Republican." On the same day, he said Das Kapital in a nutshell. Hungry Santa, aka Karl Marx, says, "Give me debt for free." Oh, amazing. May 17th, 2020 said, "Take the red pill." Then we had April 2nd. They wrote peace on the wall at Berghain. I refuse to enter. Peace, I hate the word. Those who do care about peace, myself aspirationally included, don't need to hear it. And those who don't care about peace, well, Elon Musk has been talking about these issues for some time. On April 28th, he posted his now infamous meme, which came from our good friend Colin Wright, who's been on the show several times. Elon Musk tweets a meme about America's political polarization as the left goes further left. Of course, you all saw it. This moment was coming. Many probably predicted it. In 2008, if you were center left, you became a centrist in 2012. And now you're on the right because the left has moved so far left. I love the discussion that comes from the mainstream media. They're like, that's not true. We need to analyze policy and positions from these political parties to understand what it means to be left and right. And then when they do, they're like, the right has become more right-wing. When I was a kid, Republicans wanted to ban abortion. Now I'm an adult. Republicans want to ban abortion. Oh, heavens. They've gone so far right on an issue they've always had the same position on. Imagine if you want to talk about becoming more extreme. If Republicans say abortion should not be allowed, conservatives for the most part, in my lifetime, and that's the same position they hold today, they've stayed exactly where they are. You want to talk about becoming more extreme? That would be the Republicans coming out and saying women should be required to get pregnant. Women by a certain age, that would be more extreme, but they're not there. They're not there. Or they would say ban birth control. We want to take it up a notch. No condoms, no birth control. They're not there. They're in the same position they've always been. And so am I. It's the left that's gone further left. Let me start, before we get into the political polling, with showing you, I'm going to say it's cheating. It is, because all I did was pull up libs of TikTok who aggregated a few stories. But I do have another story I want to talk about. And we'll get into the conversation I had yesterday, because I completely agree with Elon. In one of the latest posts from libs of TikTok, a mom in Clark County School reads from a graphic assignment her daughter was required to do. Her mic then gets cut off because it's inappropriate for a public discussion. Adults can't handle hearing this content, yet they readily give it to kids in school. How does it make sense? I can't read for you. I can't play for you the video because it's pornography. When she reads it, they say, whoa, whoa, hey, yo, we'll have decorum here. And they bang the little gavel. And everyone's like, but this is in our schools. A 15-year-old girl was given this material talking about private parts and genitals and overt adult acts. And they're all shocked by it. We got another video for you. This one from Adams 12, another school district, where a parent tries reading from the book called Gender Queer and gets silenced by board members, once again, because it is adult content that is being given to children. I can't show you the images. They had to censor the images because if you actually saw them, I'd probably get in trouble on YouTube. This is what the left has been doing in schools when they are grooming your kids. I want to stress it again. This parent, she was talking about, in near tears, her 15-year-old daughter being given an adult material, adult activities assignment. They are grooming your kids. Not everyone, not everywhere, but in these instances, it is happening. And when we try and call it out, we get people up there, it's not happening. That's not true. Here we go. A Wisconsin school district filed a Title IX complaint against 3 middle school students, accusing them of harassment for using incorrect pronouns. The principal deleted their account. This happened last week. Here's another one. Here is an individual bragging about performing top surgeries on young adults and adolescents. Adolescents? All had supportive parents. If you are on the left and you're in favor of LGBT rights, I was with you the whole time until you started advocating for irreversible chemical treatments and surgeries on children. Yeah, the left has gone too far left. What does that mean? Maybe it means nothing because left means tribe. But I'll tell you what I see. The positions they've had, they've just rapidly become more extreme on. Republicans want to ban abortion. They haven't moved. That's where they still are. They're okay with, many aren't okay with birth control, but they ain't trying to ban it. The left was like gay marriage. And I said, absolutely. And now they're like teaching kids about adult activities. And I'm like, you have gone way off the deep end. I'm not voting for you. Which brings me to one of the core arguments that I had with Matt last night on IRL. I'll give you I mentioned Colorado. Well, here's the facts. The right to abortion in Colorado is now guaranteed under state law. But what does that mean? Well, pulling up the bill, it actually has a provision that specifically states fetuses, embryos, fertilized eggs have no rights at all. Seamus made a good point. I made a similar point. Seamus, of course, is a conservative Catholic pro-life. We disagree. I'm a traditional pro-choicer, which doesn't really exist that much these days in the political sphere. Seamus is pro-life. We have argued intensely on this. It's interesting. Seamus brought up that throughout history, every attempt to codify dehumanization throughout history has failed. He's correct. In the United States, I should say. I believe he's correct. I could be wrong. So you had Native Americans. They eventually are granted rights and reparations. Slavery, of course, a bloody war where nearly a million Union soldiers lose their lives, ending slavery. I know there's a lot of reasons for the Civil War, slavery being the largest component and the moral, the strong moral position which caused it, among, the things that broke down around it. You then had Jim Crow, and 150 years fought, and to this day still a fight over civil rights of individuals. 1964 Civil Rights Act. Every step of the way, we've expanded rights. In fact, we've even now seen countries expand rights to animals. We have rights for turtle shells. For turtle eggs, elephants. Now, they don't get due process or anything like that, but you can't just go kill them. Colorado here actually says in this paragraph, a fertilized egg, embryo, or fetus does not have independent or derivative rights under the laws of the state. They say a public entity may not deny, restrict, interfere with, or discriminate against an individual's fundamental right to use or refuse contraception, or to continue a pregnancy and give birth, or to have an abortion in the regulation or provision of benefits, facilities, services, or information. It defines abortion. That's important. Let me see if I can make sure I get I want to make sure you have the proper. Here we are. Abortion means any medical procedure, instrument, agent, or drug used to terminate the pregnancy of an individual known or reasonably believed to be pregnant with an intention other than to increase the probability of a live birth. Fascinating language they use for that one. Now let's bring it to the general polls here. I may have another. I'll come back to the libs of TikTok. Let me bring it to the individual, the generic polls, and make my point. Yesterday, I had a debate, discussion, argument, several arguments with Matt Binder. Again, tremendous respect for him coming on the show. We're going to have him on again. I thought it was actually a really great show. He told me he believes a woman has the right to choose to have an abortion at any point, and that the baby is only protected after it's born. To me, that's insane. I'm sorry. The traditional liberal approach to pro-choice is that there have to be some restrictions, that at a certain point the baby is viable, you shouldn't kill it. The Democrats proposed a law, which I've talked about ad nauseum, but bears repeating in this context. So I apologize, but not everybody watches every video I do or listens to every podcast. So if you're familiar with it, you're going to hear it again and again. I apologize, but it's important. The Democrats' bill, which was recently struck down thanks to Joe Manchin, said that you could not restrict an abortion after viability if the pregnant patient's health was at risk due to the pregnancy. Let me break this down. Matt repeatedly said, the mother's health. And I said, okay, a woman is pregnant with a baby, 9 months. And they say, if you go into labor, if the pregnancy continues, you die. Let's just say that extreme example. Why allow for an abortion, which is legally defined as actions taken to terminate a pregnancy that does not result in a live birth? That is to say, it kills the baby in the process. If the woman couldn't go into labor, if the woman was dying, you have to remove the baby no matter what. Why kill it? He didn't have an answer. He just kept arguing a woman's choice, a woman's choice. Okay. So I said, if I'm looking at a Democrat and they say, and they have, we had Eric Adams, I believe. We've had Joe Biden say no restrictions at all. I'm like, dude, look, man, there are serious questions about government overreach. But if my choices have really become ban the practice outright or allow people in Colorado to kill a baby seconds before birth, yeah, I'm going with banning abortion. I'm sorry, that's just the case. Matt kept asking me. He said, what if the baby was born in a vegetative state? And I said, and? He's like, would you think you can kill it then? Like, no, you can't. He's like, you would keep the baby. Yes. It's almost if it's shocking to him. This was the Democrat position all throughout my life. Now, the left wants to argue, I must be a conservative because I'm a regular person from 2012. Yo, how did you go in 10 years from safe, legal, rare to no restriction up to the point of birth abortion at the woman's discretion? Now, you can come at me all day and night and say, it doesn't happen, Tim. It doesn't happen. 91% of abortions happen in the first 12 weeks. I don't disagree with that. I'm asking you why Democrats want to make it legal. and why I should support their efforts to do so. I don't care if it's 91% of abortions. If you want to make a bill that says within 12 weeks, but after viability, none, okay, then great. I would say that there we go. Let's enact that one. That's not the bill you proposed. So they come to me and say, why aren't you defending pro-choice, Tim? Because you're trying to allow people to make it legal for abortions to be performed at 9 months. I just think that makes no sense. If the woman's life is at risk, why destroy the baby? Why kill it? If you have to remove it, make it live. So it said after viability. Now they want to come to me and say, Tim, we're talking about at 6 months, at 7 months, and the woman's got some serious issue and they have to terminate the pregnancy and remove the baby. And I'm like, if the baby is viable and the law specifically states the pregnancy is the risk, why not just deliver the baby, induce labor, or perform a C-section? But wait, they say, what if the labor is the risk and the mother can't handle labor? C-section. Take the baby out. You have to explain it. You can't. Doesn't matter. That's my position. There's no answer. When Matt said to me, he believes a woman can choose to have an elective abortion at 9 months, and he thinks it doesn't happen anyway, I'm just like, well, if you don't think it happens, why make it legal? No answer. Well, I'm not going to vote for that. I won't do it. It'd be like, people aren't, people aren't buying bags of bricks and throwing them off rooftops all the time. So why not just make it legal? And I'm like, why would we do that? No, you should not be allowed to do something like that. They've lost their minds. In the generic congressional vote, we can see Republicans have a 3.5% lead. According to 538, their lead is 2.5. It doesn't matter. This is apocalyptically bad for Democrats. Democrats lose elections when they're down by 5. When they're up by 5. Now they're down by 2.5 to 3.5, suggesting it is going to be a major collapse. Let me show you this Project Veritas story. I covered this morning. We'll bring it up in this context. Twitter does not believe in free speech. We're actually censoring the right and not the left. Twitter employee to undercover Veritas journalist. It's actually, they're all taking my, I posted the video and everyone's using mine. Cool. It's got 5 million views. Wow. That's cool. It was breaking news. I wanted to post it. So I'm excited to have participated in reporting of the story. A Twitter employee said they only work 4 hours a week. A Twitter employee says they do ban the right. Elon Musk is correct across the board, and he represents so much of what many of us feel. He called on the SEC to evaluate Twitter users and numbers. So we'll see if the deal goes through. He said, in response to a tweet that said the SEC should investigate whether Twitter claims are true. If it turns out that Twitter lied in the official filing, serious consequences and complete distrust of investors can await it. Elon Musk said, hello, SEC Gov, anyone home? This morning at 3 a.m., he tweeted, the deal will not move forward unless the CEO of Twitter proves their bot numbers. It's so laughable. Let me show you this clip. Elon Musk's epic reaction to Twitter claiming the number of real unique humans that you see making comments on a daily basis above 95%. Now, as I mentioned, full disclosure, my initial intent was to do a segment on the current purchasing of Twitter and where Elon Musk was when this news broke that he was going to be voting Republican. But I do believe this all plays a big role in this. Elon Musk is one of us, a disaffected liberal, a now moderate. Elon was left-leaning, voting for Democrats, as was I. And today, we probably have very similar politics. Would love to have Elon on the show. He's going on other shows. Come on, buddy. Let's have you on. It'll be interesting. Check this out.
Said another way, the number of real, unique...
Let me lower the volume on that. That's really loud.
...humans that you see making comments on a daily basis on Twitter is above 95%. That is what they're claiming. Does anyone have that experience? Exactly.
I mean,
really? Listen, there's a bridge I'd like to sell you. and also, you can buy the Brooklyn Bridge.
The laughter is, Elon responds, the audience laughter says it all. They organically erupt in laughter at the idea that Twitter is above 95% real users. See, they're manipulated accounts. They're sock puppets. It's a dirty game. Elon knows it. But let's wrap this together. Elon sees what we see. The narrative is breaking. The lies are breaking. It ain't working anymore. The left has gone insane. These people can't tell you how basic functions of government work. You know what? I'll do it. I'll entertain some of the political drama in this conversation. In talking with Matt Binder last night, I think a lot was revealed to me. And I've become a bit... I've been saying for a while, there's no point in talking to people on the left. There's no point in the Twitter beefs. I think conversations are good. I think having them on the show is good. But I don't think you're going to convince them of anything. Posting hot takes on Twitter it's stupid. But people like to do it to me. They like to do it to Elon or whoever. It doesn't do anything for anybody. But something interesting happened with having Matt on the show. He had no substance behind his ideas. Now, I hate to put him on the spot because it could just be, look, I am a professional with a large company that's rapidly expanding. I got 1 million followers on Twitter and, 5 or so million subscribers across the board on YouTube. And he's got a much smaller channel. So maybe it's just there's a gap in I'm not trying to be mean, but like skill, knowledge, experience. We're about the same age. Matt, I believe, has been working in the space longer than I have. But there is a gap. I asked him after the show. We didn't include this in the member. We went to a member segment. It wasn't live. I said, I have a genuine question. Because we still talk a little bit after the show. Obviously, humans talk to each other. And I just said, you don't know what fractional reserve banking is. You don't know how the money supply is expanded. You don't know how taxation works for corporations or for the wealthy. You don't know how the wealthy generate revenue. Yet you are adamant that your policy positions are correct. How is that? He had been saying to me that he believed that we should just have the government print money to pay off everyone's debt for colleges. And I said, but why? I said, why tax the lower income earners to pay the higher income earners' debts? And he said, it doesn't matter. The government's just printing the money, so it's all gone anyway. Nobody's owed that money. I'm like, well, yeah. Flooding the market with this money creates inflationary pressure at the very least. The money has to come from somewhere or be produced. And when it is, that will have a huge impact on inflation. We can't just give money away to people. Plus, I was like, my position on student loan forgiveness is abolishing the interest rates, forgiving all interest rates and tax credits to anyone who's already paid into the interest rates, but the principal you got to pay back. He said, no, UBI, government should just pay. And I said, what do you think that would do in terms of inflation? He said, I don't know. I said, what do you think that would do in terms of the value, like the currency value or labor markets? Like, I don't know. He just didn't understand. I don't blame him for not understanding. Not everybody is smart enough to grasp how these systems work, and I certainly would not claim to be the smartest person in the world. I would say I'm smart enough to build a machine. I'm smart enough to produce a show, to produce several shows, and to build a company. I'm smart enough to make the business work. I don't know what that means. Maybe I'm a little bit smarter than some people, but I certainly don't think I'm all that smart. I think perseverance is the issue and my drive. I also think I have insane amounts of energy for some reason. Don't ask me why. I don't sleep. I don't know, man. I've been accused of being on Adderall. Not true. No, I'm basically straight edge. Eat healthy, no drinking, no smoking, no tattoos. But anyway, I digress. My point here is I'm having conversations with people about political issues they don't even know the basics of. They accuse me of not knowing the basics, but it's like, how do you talk to someone who doesn't know? The abortion question is a good example. For instance, on Twitter, when I made a tweet about abortion, a woman going to get an abortion, and then she has the baby on accident. What do? The left doesn't know what the word abortion means. The legal definition, or at least the CDC's definition, involves the death of the baby. Colorado's legal definition says an attempt that is not intending to increase probability of live birth, meaning death is either intended or expected. They don't know that. So when I said if a woman is, 8 months pregnant and the baby has to be, terminated for health reasons, people said, you're an idiot. It's not an abortion. It's induced labor. No, those are different things, but they don't know this. So what I was talking to Matt about, I said, it would be like you're telling me that cars don't need gas because the gas is just there. Just fill up the tank with gas. And I said, where do we get the gas from? And he's like, what do you mean? Just put the gas in the tank. Like, you can just do it. And I'm like, the gas has to come from somewhere. The resources, the food, it has to come from somewhere. Someone has to make it. He doesn't get it. I said, this is my question to the left. How can you advocate for an action when you don't know the ramifications of that action? It's like someone, like imagine you go to a mechanic shop and you have no idea how to put together a transmission. And as the mechanic is working, you say, I think you should put that screw on top. And he goes, the screw doesn't go on top. And they're like, no, I want it there. You know what? We all agree, do it. And he's like, you're going to ruin the car. I need to use this car too. I'm not going to do that. And then they'll start complaining. Why won't you listen to the majority? This is democracy. We want the screw. And you're like, that's going to destroy the machine. I don't think I have all the answers. I have a lot of questions and concerns, which is why I don't staunchly advocate for a lot of policy. On issues of freedom, pretty adamant. On issues of life and stuff, I'm like, I don't know, man. You know, a lot of people are like, Tim, your advocacy for pro-choice, pre-viability means people are going to lie. If you advocate for rape and incest provisions, they're going to lie. And I'm like, you're right, they will. I don't know what to do. I don't know if there are clean answers. So for me, I'm like, I don't know, should we do something? If all signs point to catastrophe, I'd say no. If I have insufficient information, I'll say, I honestly don't know. So, he asked me the other night about Terry Schiavo. So what's your position on Terry Schiavo? I was like, I don't have a strong opinion. He's like, you don't have a strong opinion? No, I don't know enough about it. I'm not just going to have an opinion for the sake of tribal reasons. I don't know. And it turns out, at least according to Seamus, there was no signed DNR, do not resuscitate. The husband claimed she didn't want to live. The parents claimed she did. There's a legal battle. And I said, next of kin, parents have no say. It's a clear-cut legal question. There was a lawsuit. I can respect the lawsuit. In this instance, we're dealing with someone who was involved with a serious injury, a TBI, or a disease, which resulted in a loss of function. And there's questions over what they wanted: do not resuscitate, or to be kept on life support. The next of kin is the husband, who said she does not want to be resuscitated. I'd respect the next of kin. That's what I would want for myself. I wouldn't want my parents intervening. I want my next of kin, which is spouse, significant other. He then said, okay, well, what about a baby? And I'm like, different situation. A baby who is vegetative but has not experienced traumatic loss deserves a right to try and live. This is my point. Ultimately, the conversation yesterday, because Seamus mostly stayed out, was a leftist calling a pro-choice liberal, me, right-wing or conservative, because he doesn't realize he's so far gone towards the left that he thinks I'm right-wing. And he was like, you, why aren't you advocating for pro-choice? And I was like, Seamus and I argue this on like every show, especially in the past few weeks. I straight up told Seamus that if it were me as a woman who got pregnant due to rape and the state said you must, I'd kill myself. I would lose my mind. A position a lot of people disagree with on the right. And these leftists are so far gone, they call that a conservative opinion. Elon Musk is right. You and I are right. I consider myself moderate liberal leaning based on the actual political compass and the definitions of traditional and social liberal. The left, they're purist cultists. Women should be allowed to choose. Pro-choice means 9 months. No, pro-choice always meant the woman can choose for herself, but not the baby. When the baby is not viable and dependent, I see it as an issue of if the woman needs to terminate for any reason, the baby dies. I also said it's so simple. If the Democrats just included a provision that said all attempts must be made to save the life of the baby, we wouldn't be dealing with this. Everyone would be like, okay. But for some reason, Democrats, they're tribally, I think they want to be able to kill babies. That may sound extreme, but what I mean to say is Matt actually argued if a baby has defect, they should just kill it. I disagree with that. I think that's wrong. I don't believe in eugenics. And that's what the left is arguing for. When they argue in severe abnormality or defect or whatever, we should be able to kill it. If it's got Down syndrome, you should kill it. I'm like, that's eugenics. I disagree. I believe that homogenizing a gene pool is dangerous. I believe that defects, as they might call them, or abnormalities are not always inherently bad or do not always mean your life should be terminated. In the instance that a baby is got a heart on its forehead, There's been like heart in its head, like not going to survive. It's sad, man. You try to save the baby and give the person a chance at a normal life. If the baby is likely to die anyway, why would you not just try? If a homeless person was sickly or bleeding and collapsed in front of a hospital, would we be like, yeah, he's dying. Let him live. Let him go. No, you'd bring him in to save his life. The arguments make no sense. I don't want to keep rehashing the same argument, so I'll leave it there. Elon Musk hit the nail on the head with the hammer. Now, depending on what happens with Twitter, we'll see. But the issue is, when the left claims that he's wrong about Twitter, it's because they're in a bubble. Next segment's coming up at 8 p.m. over at youtube.com/Timcast. Thanks for hanging out, and I'll see you all then.